Yorgos Lanthimos' Bugonia is a remake of the 2003 South Korean cult film Save the Green Planet. The film made its debut in fall festivals before landing in US theaters in late October, and right away it split some audiences. Some saw it as one of Lanthimos' funniest and most accessible works, while others thought it was maybe too restrained for a director who's known for pushing boundaries. And to me, the truth lies somewhere in between. So the setup is deceptively simple. Jesse Plemons plays Teddy, a conspiracy-obsessed beekeeper who becomes convinced that a powerful biotech CEO, played by Emma Stone, is actually an alien plotting humanity's destruction, while his cousin Don, played by newcomer Aiden Delbus, gets swept into the madness. What follows is part hostage thriller, part dark comedy, part science fiction tragedy, a warped moral standoff between belief, power, and proof. Now, this probably won't be the case for everybody watching, but to me, the story beats felt a bit predictable. I feel like a majority of that came from my expectation that Yorgos would take the weirdest path at every turn and just kind of predicting what that would be. That being said, almost every scene still managed to catch me off guard. Like, you might guess where things are headed, but you never really know how you'll get there. Lanthimos directs like he's adjusting the tone and rhythm from moment to moment, each exchange feeling uneasy and dynamic, just enough to make you laugh 1 second and then just sweat the next. And the performances are what make it believable. Plemons continues to be one of the most quietly intense actors working. Teddy is a man with deep trauma and severe issues, desperate to be the hero and, make sense of a world that just doesn't give a crap about him. There's a line in this movie where he says he passed through the entire digestive tract of extremism, everything from alt-right to far left and everything much worse and in between. And without giving too much away, I feel like that really encapsulates everything he and his arc in this movie represents. But we'll talk more about that in a sec. Emma Stone, on the other hand, gives one of the most restrained performances I've seen her give ever. Michelle is the corporate speak final boss, and her delivery is just precise and antagonizing, as if her character is constantly deciding whether to reason with Teddy or just to simply outlast him. And I love how hard she is to read at times. It's genuinely a masterclass on misdirection. And together they form a dynamic that's both tense and darkly funny. It would also be an absolute crime not to mention Aiden Delbus as Don, who gives the film its only real flicker of innocence or warmth. Don is honestly a tragedy. He is constantly being pulled between what he wants and what he thinks, and just being there for Teddy. And he's caught in the crossfire of, Teddy and Michelle's war, and Delbus just gives a fantastic performance all around. Now, visually, Bugonia is stunning. Within the first 5 seconds, you can tell that it's shot on film. The way Robbie Ryan's cinematography can shift between, corporate blues and countryside greens, and then just this absolute grimy look of this basement is really just a treat on its own. And then there's these black and white dream / memory sequences that are clearly a visual standout for the whole film. They're just haunting and strangely beautiful, and I gladly would have taken 8 to 10 more of these scenes. Now, if the film stumbles anywhere, it's gonna be in that middle stretch. The film kind of loses some of its bite, and I feel like the story briefly feels like it's circling itself rather than digging deeper. I feel like there's a clear message about, corporate power and paranoia and, the fragility of truth, but it never fully evolves past that setup. It's as if the film starts with an idea and then just doesn't know quite how to carry it through, so it just shelves it until the finale where it can just underline it again. Don't get me wrong, I thought the ending landed, but you can't help but feel like the movie spent an hour walking in place to get there. Still, it's not hard to admire what Lanthimos is doing here. Personally, I felt like Poor Things started very strong and then kind of got lost in its own sauce. I feel like this movie is like a conscious act of restraint, and it leaves us with a film that is just more humane than expected. And the movie plays with the idea that being right doesn't necessarily mean being good, and that truth, when finally found, might do more harm than ignorance ever could. Now, like I was saying before, technically this film is perfect. The cinematography gives every frame just this tactile, real feeling. The score is phenomenal. There's this motif that plays that's these horns blasting. It's amazing. And I'll be honest, it's this craftsmanship that makes the weaker parts of the film a lot easier to go through and digest. And when we get to the end of Bugonia, I feel like it's delivered an experience that you can only really get from a Lanthimos film, while feeling a bit more, mainstream than his usual work. It's stylish, it's funny, it's engaging, but it never quite hits the peak of emotions or like that weird poetry of his best work. I walked away overall satisfied and impressed by these performances, maybe wishing for a little more chaos in the story. This movie actually made me very curious to check out the original, so if you've seen that movie, let me know what you thought down below. If you saw this movie, let me know what you thought down below. If you enjoyed the review, subscribe. I do these all the time, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.